Oh, hello. Didn't see you come in. I'm making cornbread. Want to help? Cool. All right, that's your ingredients there on the screen. But the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 450 degrees and go ahead and put your cast iron in. You see, I have two pans there because I'm making two sets. I'm making one set of plain cornbread and one with jalapenos, onions, and cheese. All right, so let's get started. First things first, you need half a cup of flour, then cornmeal. Try to get yellow cornmeal if you can, and also try to avoid self-rising cornmeal if you can, because you're going to add your own uh, leaveners in just a few minutes. All right, and you add 2 cups of cornmeal. Then you're going to go next and add in your sugar. And if you don't like sugar in cornbread, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. All right, so 2 tablespoons of sugar. Again, this is me making two, but the recipe that I'm telling you is for one. So if you're doing two, double, 2 bowls of two each, right? All right, next thing you're going to do is your baking powder. All right, your baking powder. I prefer this Glaver Girl. I don't know what you have locally, but this one's a pretty good product. I pick it up at Walmart for next to nothing. All right, on the baking powder, you need 1 tablespoon, followed by half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. If you pay attention here, you'll see me screw up. I add 2 teaspoons of salt instead of one. And so my cornbread came out a little bit salty. It wasn't too bad, but try to avoid that if you can. All right, so that's what you've got there. You've got all your dry ingredients together. So next thing you're going to do is start to work on your wet ingredients. I'm a little ahead here, so here I'm adding in the salt. Again, watch me screw up. There's one. No, wait. And he does two. What a dummy. All right. So now we're going to get our wet together. This is half a stick of butter chopped up into cubes. To that, you're going to add, now the butter, you want to make sure it's softened. So pull it out ahead of time, let it bring up to room temperature, and then cut it into cubes. You don't want it melted. Or you can do it melted if you want, but I prefer it in room temperature. Add 2 eggs, and then you're going to add 2 cups of buttermilk. If you can't find buttermilk, that's fine. Just use regular milk or make buttermilk. There's plenty of recipes online for that. Go ahead and add that in. I'm going to go ahead and drain the corn here because cornbread is not cornbread if you don't put fresh corn in it or canned corn. Then it's just cornmeal. Alright, so we're going to add our corn to that and mix. I also added a little bit of black pepper. Mix it up. Here you can beat it till you're blue in the face because you're not going to hurt anything. But once you do the next step, which is adding your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients, you don't want to overwork it. If you overwork it, you'll create gluten, and gluten causes a tough, chewy exterior, and that's not something that you really want. So mix it, make sure everything's thoroughly mixed together, but don't overwork it. Once you think it's there, you'll know it's there. It's about a little thicker than like a pancake batter. But, no wet places, no dry places. Just make sure it's thoroughly mixed in. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start looking at the other thing that I'm doing, which was making the jalapeno and onion with cheese. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to mix the wet ingredients. I have my corn. And I'm going to go get my jalapenos and onions that I had already sauteed a little earlier. Use your own preferences, how much onion you want, how much jalapeno you want, Or if you want to use a different pepper, go for it. Whatever works for you. Jalapeno is pretty safe, but the good thing about cornbread is you can put pretty much anything you want into it and still come out good. One of my favorites that I make is a bacon and chorizo cornbread that I use during the holidays. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put that pan back on the stove, mix this around, make sure that everything's thoroughly mixed. That's literally the only difference between having add-ins to your cornbread and not, is literally adding them in at this step. If you don't want to add anything in besides corn, you don't have to do this. If you do, you see what you're supposed to do. It's very, very simple stuff. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the plain cornbread. Go ahead and get everything mixed up there. There's my eggs. Into my butter and milk. And mix, 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 and mix. Don't forget to mix here. So get everything put together there. Now I'm adding my butter actually. You can add it directly to the dry mixture if you want, or do like I do and just throw it back into the wet mixture. And then you combine them. Here's my corn. Oh, it's a good thing that's not in 3D, huh? I'm not that rich. I'm not rich at all. I'm actually very not rich. This is all shot. Basically, I put a wire directly from my brain to my computer. And this is why you get such a overhead shot like this. It's literally my eyes. Alright. So we're going to mix everything here. Pop. 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 Well, you guys are nerds sitting here watching me mix. Why would you do this? This is just completely outrageous. Flop, 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 flop. Okay. So everything should be fairly mixed by now. And your next step is you're going to go to the stove. You're going to pull your 2 pans out of the oven. Make sure you wear protection. You don't want to catch an STD from the oven. Go ahead and pull your pans out. See, it's hot. They're smoking. Take a little bit of oil. I'm using grapeseed, and what you want to do is coat your pan. You don't want to saturate it, but you want to coat the bottom and the sides, and then pour off the excess. So, just a little dribble in both. Pick it up with your protection. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Alright, I'm going to dump the excess into the pan that I used to cook the jalapenos and onions. Just put it right there. And that's your setup for your next step, which is, shockingly enough, dumping your cornbread into the hot pans. Had I not already removed the sound, you would hear it go. There's the sound for you. The reason you want to do that is you make a nice crispy crust go on the outside of the cornbread. It also helps it form together. At this point, you want to turn your oven down to 400. I forgot to, so mine came out a little darker than I would like, but it was still fine. And there's our jalapeno cornbread. So oven's down to 400, and you're going to go ahead and put these both in, or one if you're just doing one, and you're going to cook it for about 25 minutes. In about 25 minutes, once you feel like they should be fully cooked, you're going to take a wooden skewer or toothpick, or like I use, a metal ice pick, and you're going to insert it in the middle of the cornbread. When you pull it out, if it comes out dry and maybe a little moist but no crumbs on it, then you know it's completely cooked through. If you pull it out and it's still wet and there's crumbs and it's gummy, then you know that it's not done. Oh my god, I just went black. No, wait. No, I'm sorry. Just a little steam. Alright. So here we go. What? Nope. Alright. Everything's clean. That's good. I'm going to plop it again. Everything's clean there too. Alright, so they're completely cooked. Thumbs up. Yay, I'm a winner. Alright. Next up, you're going to go ahead and turn your oven off if you're done with it. Put your pans on a rack and let them cool down for about 15 minutes. Don't don't be like me and rush it because you're trying to complete the video and wait like 5 minutes, because as you'll see in a minute, I pay for it. Take a butter knife, run it around the perimeter of the pan so you can help loosen it up so it'll come out a little bit easier. You can just cut and serve out of the pan, but I prefer to take it out of the pan. So run it around the perimeter, and your next step, you can be brave and ballsy like me and just flip it over. Smarter thing to do is to put the rack on top of the pan and then turn it over so it doesn't have a chance to fall out. But you know me, I like to live on the edge. I live in danger zone. Alright, so we're going to do that with the other one as well. And you'll see where my issue comes in just a second. So run it around, slow. Make sure that you get a clear path cut so nothing sticks. Put your glove back on and then flip. Okay, so when I flipped, I noticed it didn't release from the pan. And I also noticed that I spent my spoon flying, so let's throw that in the dishes here. We'll wash that in a minute. Alright, so I noticed it didn't come undone, so now I'm picking it up, and yeah, it's still kind of sticking, so I'm going to flip it back over and try to do it again with a knife. At this point, I should have known better. I should have given it more time, but I was being impatient so I could finish the video, plus I was cooking dinner at the time, as you can see by the pressure cooker on the stove. Right there. Look at me pointing. Like I knew in the future I would need to say that. Alright. Turning everything off there. Turn back around. Trying to see if I can get up under it. Try to loosen it up. Glove back on. This time I'm going to be smart about it, and I'm going to pick it up and put the rack on top this time. This is the right way to do it, not like a jackass like I do. And then flip. And if it's not too hot, smack it on the bottom a couple times, try to loosen it up, and then pick it up. Oh, it came out. Oh, the bottom stuck. You're terrible. You're a terrible person. You've ruined it. No, you didn't. So the bottom stuck. So what you need to do is take a spatula and kind of scrape under the bottom and get it all loosened back up, and just put it back on top. You didn't ruin anything. Everything's fine. Go grab a knife, and we're going to go ahead and serve this. The easiest way to do this is to cut it in, half, and then cut your wedges out. And then when you go to serve, take your knife and run it in the middle of the cornbread, which you'll see in just a second, and kind of make it into a hinge. And you're going to take 3 pats of butter and stuff the inside while the cornbread's still hot so the butter can melt into the cornbread. You'll see that in just a second. But as you can see, it's a nice cross section. It's not too crumbly. It's holding its shape. It's a good recipe. It's a solid recipe, and it's fairly easy to do. That's the plain cornbread. This is the jalapeno cornbread that didn't come out quite as good as far as sticking, but again, that was my fault. So that's how you make cornbread. It's really kind of simple, man. Just follow along with the directions just as they're written, and you should be able to make it. Here I got my butter, and as you'll see, cut down the center, and you're good to go. So that's how you make cornbread. My name is Evil. You're lucky to have listened to me talk for the last few minutes, and we hope you have a wonderful day.